Hello and welcome. This yoga practice is all about the feet. So if you have tight feet or if you put your feet into shoes all day and they feel kind of gross at the end of the day, allow them to air out and then come do this practice because your feet will feel so much better. Hi, if I haven't met you yet, my name is Jessica Lucy with Sun Breath Yoga, and I help people find joy in the way that they move and confidence in the way that they move too. So let's get started on the ground in a seated position, and you will want your socks off because you're actually going to manipulate your feet with your hands. So first things first, bring the soles of your feet to touch. Make your way into this butterfly shape. And you can have your hands towards the ankles, reach all the way up through the crown of your head. Take a couple breaths there just to settle and notice. So notice how the feet feel. Maybe even look down and notice how the feet kind of lay open or if they feel more touching towards one another. And then take your left leg, bring it out long. It can be any direction. Just lengthen through the left leg. Take your right ankle into your hand and begin to rock your right leg back and forth, left and right. If you wanted to get a deeper rock, you can kind of cradle your leg with your arm. And if you wanted to move even deeper through that hip space, take your foot into the crook of your elbow. Now, as you do this, if your legs or your hips or your back is tight, you might notice a curving and rounding through the back body. And if that feels like there's no pressure there, great. If you feel like there's pressure there, come back to one of those options that I was offering earlier and create length through the spine as you open up through that hip space. So a couple more breaths there. Okay, now is the time where we deal with the feet. So have your right arm around the leg, your right leg, and then take your left hand, interlace your fingers with your toes. So it's almost as if your toes are now like your fingers, and you're creating space between the toes that way. From there, create circles through the ankle. And as you create those circles through the ankle, move through the toes as well. So circling through the ankle, we'll do this one way, about 5 times. Flexing and pointing through the toes as you circle. And then take those circles in the opposite direction. And notice which way or how it feels going one way or the other way, if one feels weird. And then if one feels like, oh, this feels normal. This is what I do all day. Usually people don't hold their feet through their hands all day, but this could be something you do on the regular that would feel nice. Okay, after you're done with those rotations, begin to flex the toes up and down. So now the toes point up towards the knees and then away towards the knees, moving through that space, back and forth, left and right. And if you wanted, you can even move through the ankle space as well, but as you move through the ankle space, you might notice that the toes don't move as much because you're focusing on that ankle. So just the toes. And then after you've done that, begin rotating the toes. So if your foot was on the ground, the soles of your foot would be up, and then they go down towards the ground and away. So since they're in the air, say your soles of your foot is towards this wall, now the sole of your foot is going to point up towards the ceiling and then down towards the ground. Up towards the ceiling, down towards the ground. Moving that way through the foot. So you'll notice it's like a rotation through the toes and through the ankle space. All right. And once you've done all those movements, instead of just taking your hand out, kind of pull the toes away as you pull your hand out. Ah. And if you wanted to give it a little extra love and attention, you can pull on each of the toes as well as you go through that space. All right, we'll go out through the toes, straighten out through the leg, and then we'll move over towards the other side. So same thing here. Right leg is straight, left leg is bent. The knee can be in the arm. You can kind of cradle it. You can hold your ankle with your right hand. You can take your foot into the crook of your, your elbow, and cradle it this way. But wherever you are, go back and forth with that leg. Find a space where you can breathe easily and where there's no tension through the back body. So through that hip. Okay, so after moving back and forth through that hip space, now we'll move through the foot ankle space. Take your right hand, interlace your fingers with your toes so that they're like all the way or as close to butted up with the webbing of your fingers and the webbing of your feet. Okay, from there, we're going to make circles through that ankle. And as you make the circles, point and flex through the toes. So you might notice if one side is easier to make circles on than the other side. You know, like between left and right. Take the circles in the opposite direction, continuing to point and flex through the toes there. Continue to breathe nice and easy. Maybe notice if there's any sound. Maybe there's sounds. Maybe notice if there's a space that's a little harder to move through. And then stop your circles. We've done both clockwise and counterclockwise. So this time point the toes toward your knees and then point the toes away from the knees. Moving through that toe space, you can use your hand to help with that point and flex of the toes. All right, and then after going back and forth a couple times that way, we'll point the soles of the feet towards the ceiling, rotate down, point towards the floor. So moving through that rotation of the ankle and of the feet, pointing the soles of the feet towards the ceiling and then towards the floor. All right. Once we've done all those movements a couple times, now's the time to stretch out and release through the toes. So it's like you're pulling away as you uninterlace your fingers from your toes. And if you wanted to individually pull or draw or stretch on those toes, you could do that as well. So from there, come back into that butterfly shape with your legs. So the soles of the feet come to touch. Feel free to hold on towards the ankles. And then you can have your eyes open or you can close them depending on what you did before. And notice any similarities or differences through the feet and through the ankles. So are the feet more open or less open? Do the feet feel more tingly or less tingly? Do you notice sensation through that area a little bit more? And then, do the feet feel relaxed? Has the quality of sensation through the feet changed? So if your eyes were closed, please begin to blink them open. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I would love to know how you felt between before practice started and after. If you could just leave those in the comments, that would be lovely. And if you had any questions, I'd love to hear them, and I will definitely answer everything that I can. If you like the video, definitely like the video. Subscribe to get more of these practices, and definitely share it with a friend who would enjoy or benefit from this as well. If you want to know more about what I do, please check out my website, sunbreathyoga.com. Have a wonderful day. Bye.